Good evening, everyone. Tonight I'll be covering obscure and interesting urban legends from every Canadian province. I hope you enjoy it. Alright, let's begin. The Weber originated from Harmon Air Force Base in Stephenville, in the province of Newfoundland and Labrador. The story is fairly simple. The Weber was an inhuman bipedal creature that was born to a young couple who lived in the rural area near the base. It possessed webbed hands and feet, long claws, and a massive head. It was hidden in the basement of their home for many years. A fierce storm swept the area, and the home was destroyed. The Weber emerged from the wreckage and went out into the wilderness. It began to hunt backpackers in the Heart's Content Barrens, an area over 230 miles away from Stephenville. It continues to inhabit the woods to this day. Woods is in Antigonish County within Nova Scotia, a few miles east of a university town. You'll turn off Highway 104 to reach this area. There's an unseen entity that inhabits the woods. It's called the Haietlik. It began in the late 1700s. A small community had been established in the area. However, one husband in the area had been mistreating his wife. One night, when she was facing abuse, she took up a blunt object and tried to defend herself. He, in turn, took a family heirloom, a pearl-handled dagger, and took her out. The husband fled into the woods and was never seen again. Distant howls were heard in the nights after his disappearance, and continue to be heard to this day. It's said that the man's evil awakened something in the woods that had been asleep for millennia. Whatever this thing is, it hasn't rested since then. College kids who have entered the woods on dares have reported the following. They say that screams begin to reverberate in the distance. These screams become increasingly louder and gradually draw closer. Witnesses either chicken out and return to their cars, or are never heard from again. The Glen is a portion of eastern Prince Edward Island in Canada. It's a wooded area that includes the towns of New Harmony and Glens Corrodale. The Glen is very pretty and is known for its vibrant fall foliage. It's also inhabited by a red-eyed cryptid that loves to hunt passerby in the early hours of the morning. The Wookalark is a humanoid pig monster that lives deep within the glen. Legends say that travelers will experience car trouble in the minutes leading up to their initial sighting of the Wookalark. Red eyes will be sighted high in the tree line as they desperately try to get their engine to turn over. The fate of the victims is left an open question in many stories. It was 1758. Sister Mary Inconia was traveling back to her home after helping to deliver a baby. She was walking in a cove between Miramichi and Newcastle in New Brunswick when a fur trapper attacked her. Sister Mary, unbeknownst to many, had received information about the location of hidden treasure from natives of the region. She refused to tell him of the treasure's whereabouts, which is what he had come for, and he decapitated her. Her body was never found, and her spirit continues to wander the cove to this day. I'm sorry, Quebec, there wasn't a lot of selection. Y'all had a Loch Ness-style lake monster, some hauntings, the Wendigo, and a legend where the devil appears at a dance to try to steal a girl. It was the 1700s, and the daughter of a pagan family in the Quebec province went to a local ball. A mysterious suitor appeared and asked for her hand. He was charming, but as the night wore on, he continued to dance with her with no stop. It seemed that his plan was to dance the daughter to death and then take her to hell. The daughter's family converted to Christianity, and the devil was thwarted. The MacNab Tunnel is at Hunter and MacNab Street in Hamilton, which lies in the province of Ontario. It features the work of many graffiti artists who have gone down into the tunnel over the years. The following might happen to pedestrians foolish enough to enter the tunnel in the early morning hours during the full moon. There's a roadrunner near the center of the tunnel. If you pass it at this time, it will blink. After this, 2 massive hounds will appear from the shadows at each end of the tunnel and approach you slowly, growling. The only way to get past them is to promise to commit an evil act. Bird's Hill Provincial Park is near Oakbank, Manitoba. It has its own urban legend, which is simply called the Bird's Hill Park Monster. This stag-headed humanoid is said to sneak into a hiding spot near the rest areas. It will wait here until nightfall, and then will take those trying to head to the bathroom late at night. Sometimes it repositions itself and folds into the ceiling of the entryway that leads into the restrooms. The creature is suited to its environment, with its slender body and arching horns blending into the backdrop of dead trees within sections of the park. Nunavut is host to multiple legends that originate from the Inuit tribes. The Tunuiit are one of these legends. They were reportedly the first inhabitants of Nunavut, and were far larger and stronger than the Inuit, but were easily scared off by the weapons of the tribespeople. The Tunuiit were gentle, and were not aggressive if left alone. They looked human, but possessed incredible strength. Stories often depicted them as being capable of carrying a walrus over one shoulder. This legend involves the town of Wechuge in Sasketchawan province. The story supposedly comes from a worker who worked in the local pharmacy in the early 2000s. This person was responsible for helping to develop film, a service offered by the pharmacy. They worked for the pharmacy while attending high school. They developed hundreds of photos over the course of their time in Wechuge. Dozens of the photos were from local farmers and included documentation of cattle mutilations and crop circles. They told the employee to keep their mouth shut about the photographs for fear of being labeled as crazy by the community. One man said that these photos were being assembled into a collection that would be released to the public in a few years. This collection, if it exists, remains private. One of the most famous stories involving the Northwest Territories is set in the Nahanni Range, which is nicknamed the Valley of Headless Men. However, there are other legends that originate from this remote part of Canada. The one I'll be covering tonight is called the Wechuge. Its territory extends throughout eastern Canada and into parts of Alaska. A Wechuge could be created when a member of the Dane-Za people group broke a taboo. These taboos included eating visibly decayed meat or human flesh, listening to music made with a stretched string, like guitar, or being in a photo that was taken by a camera that used flash. A tribesperson who broke one of these taboos was vulnerable to possession by ancient evil spirits. This spirit would consume their soul and then morph the body into the shape that it preferred. The typical depiction of the Wechuge is a humanoid creature whose head is composed of a deer skull. However, the possessed could take many forms, from bird-like predators to ice giants. The Wechuge will go on to pursue its own goals after possession, which can vary from foiling the plans of other spirits to instilling fear and then feeding off of it in remote communities. Yukon's Gamulek appears as a solitary figure in sealskin and heavy furs, pulling a sled behind them. They move in a straight line in the open regions of the subarctic. These people are, in reality, massive creatures with wet skin that prowl the area. They swim in earth and in water to reach places with plentiful food. They feed on various creatures and, occasionally, lone hunters and fishermen. They change into human form to travel to some places as well, but the fact that they move in a straight line without altering their course at all makes them easily identifiable. The brave are told to sit in front of it to block its path. The creature will then ask why they are blocking the path. It will ask their name and attempt to be friendly. They will then offer gifts to the person. The person cannot speak until the creature's offered an acceptable amount of gifts. This acceptable amount can be determined by the person. They then move out of the way. The Gamulek will tell them not to watch them leaving, and will look behind its right and left arms to ensure the individual isn't looking at them. This creature inhabits the area of the Pacific Northwest in British Columbia. The Haietlik is, in essence, an air-to-surface missile. Let me explain. These creatures were serpents with heads sharper than a hunting knife that could project lightning from their tongue. Their breeding grounds were in coastal waters, and they had a symbiotic relationship with the famous thunderbird. Haietliks would hide in the thunderbird's feathers when it went out to hunt. When the thunderbird spotted a target, often an unlucky orca, they would alert the Haietliks, which would rush out of the bird's feathers at great speed, cutting into the target and unleashing massive doses of electricity. The thunderbird would pick the prey up and share the spoils with the Haietliks. Gideon's Keys are a collection of occult stories that originate and involve Calgary, Alberta. They were found within a journal on the shelves of the University of Calgary Library in 2009. The staff were doing inventory and found a book that wasn't in the system. The book discussed multiple secrets involving parts of the city. There's 200 stories in the journal titled Keys. Here's an excerpt. It's titled Key 70, Baggage Claim. There is a secret baggage claim beneath YYC, Calgary International Airport, where they keep objects of interest that passengers leave in their checked baggage. Entering the claim is problematic. It is only accessible on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, as these are the days that they are absent, and entering on a day when they are present would mean certain death. On these days when it is safe, book a seat on a domestic flight, and travel to the dingy section of the airport terminal's food court. Look for a small dirty counter, where Italian food and pizza is sold. Tell the clerk that you left your bag in the kitchen when you worked your last shift. The clerk will accept this pretext and let you into the kitchen, as though you were in fact a recently laid-off employee. The kitchen, which is shared by all the franchises in this corner of the terminal, is dominated by a staircase that leads up into the blank roof. Climb it, and keep climbing when you reach the ceiling. You will emerge in a vast and empty copy of the baggage claims downstairs, inhabited only by still figures made of plaster. Pilfer what you find valuable or notable from the baggage that is kept here, but only take with you what fits in your carry-on bag and what will pass safely through airport security. Larger or more conspicuous objects, such as the still whispering heads of saints or the monitors that show the state of your soul, will have to be left behind. Then leave, get on your flight, and lay low for a time in another city. They will soon find out what you've done, and they'll want their stolen property back. It ends there. I haven't found information on why the series is titled Gideon's Keys. My assumption would be that that's supposed to be the author's name, or last name. It's easy enough to find a collection of these stories online. As of recording, 83 of the entries are missing. The stories aren't that great, but the concept of these hidden places within Calgary and the backstory of the Keys' discovery are very cool. Alright, that's it for tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I had more fun with this video than the previous Urban Legends video on the US. That's just because I decided to avoid trying to keep the legends at a YouTube Shorts length. I hope you enjoyed the video. It was a lot of fun to dig into the topic. If you want to support my work, check out the links in the description, or consider liking this video. I'll see you around. Take care, and have a great night.